Well, hello and welcome to Misheard Song Lyrics. We're in season 2, episode 103. Yes, 103. And I'm going to do my first ever John Mellencamp misheard song lyric. The misheard song lyric is, "Oh yeah, life goes on long after the thrill of living is gone. A rock on." And the correct lyrics is, "Oh yeah, life goes on long after the thrill of living is gone. They walk on." Pretty close. And this actual misheard lyric is dedicated to some fine ladies that I just recently did a fun yearly weekend getaway to the coast. The song came on, we started singing, and some of us sang "Rock On," the wrong lyrics. That was me, I was one of them. And the other, "They Walk On." So might as well do a misheard song lyric, right? So we're talking about the song "Jack and Diane" by John Mellencamp. And of course, he's an American singer-songwriter. And back then he was called John Cougar. So we'll talk about that name and how it's now to John Mellencamp. And some critics describe it as some kind of love ballad. It was actually released as a second single from his 1982 album called American Fool, and was chosen by the Recording Industry Association of America, or as I affectionately like to call them, RIAA, as one of the songs of the century. Did not know that. It spent 4 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1982 and is Mellencamp's most successful hit single to date. Okay, so let's talk about Mr. John J. Mellencamp. He was born on October 7th, 1951. He was known as Johnny Cougar. I remember him as John Cougar, then John Cougar Mellencamp, and now John Mellencamp. And again, American music, writer, singer, songwriter, actually painter, actor, and also film director. So very talented. He is known for his catchy, what they say, ballads of like heartland rock, folksy, part of just regular folk, which emphasizes traditional instrumentation. He rose to fame in the 1980s while they say, quote unquote, honing an almost startling plain-spoken writing style, quote unquote, that starting in Mellencamp did in '82. And he had actually a string of top 10 singles, including "Hurt So Good," da 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 da, and then the one we're talking about today, "Jack and Diane," "Crumbling Down," "Pink Houses," "Lonely Old Night," "Small Town," "ROCK" in the USA, rock in the USA, "Paper and Fire," and "Cherry Bomb." He created 22 top 40 hits in the US, and he actually holds the record for the most tracks by a solo artist to hit #1 on the Hot Mainstream Rock Tracks chart with 7. Didn't know that either. He also won his one and only Grammy Award for Best Male Rock Performer for "Hurt So Good" in 1983, and has been nominated for 12 other times. His latest album of original songs, "Sad Clowns and Hillbillies," that's a great title, was released, oh my gosh, back on April 28th, 2017, my birthday, to widespread critical acclaim. He has sold over 30 million albums in the US and over 60 million worldwide. Amazing. And John Mellencamp is also one of the founding members of Farm Aid. That's an organization that began in '85, so around Live Aid started and everything, with a concert in Champaign, Illinois, to raise awareness for the loss of family farms and to raise funds to keep farm families in their land. And a little note about that, Farm Aid concerts have remained an annual event over the past 36 years. And as of this year, 2021, the organization has raised over 60 million. Amazing. And no surprise, Mellencamp was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on March 10th, 2008. And then on June 14th, 2018, he was inducted in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Lots of fans, I'm included. I do love me a John Cougar Mellencamp, and when someone sings "Hurt So Good" at a karaoke bar, it gets everyone up and wanting to dance. And once in a while, someone will do Jack and Diane, but not so much as "Hurt So Good." And some of his fans include former Creedence Clearwater Revival frontman John Fogerty. This is what he said of Mellencamp: "John is one of the great American songwriters and a great rock spirit. He's always been somewhat feisty, and his Authority song tells that story. But that's a good thing. That's rock and roll at its very core." Good quote. And then another big fan of his is Johnny Cash. That's pretty big. He called Mellencamp, quote unquote, one of the 10 best songwriters in music. All right, so let's start talking about Johnny Cougar to John Cougar to John Cougar Mellencamp to now John Mellencamp. Okay, so from 1976 through 1982, he performed as either Johnny Cougar or, as I remembered him, John Cougar. So what they say was he was traveling between Indiana and New York between 1974 and 75, and he found someone, that was interested in his music, and his image, kind of like his brand is what we say now, by the name of Tony DeFries of Main Man Management. So first, did you know, is DeFries insisted that his first album called Chestnut Street Incident, and it's a collection of covers, some handful, they say, of original songs, be released not under his name, John Mellencamp. He said Johnny Cougar, insisting that his German name Mellencamp was too hard in the market. At that time it was Neil Diamond, that makes sense. So Johnny Cougar has a ring to it. Mellencamp reluctantly agreed, and the album supposedly was a commercial failure, only selling 12,000 copies. By the way, if I could sell 12,000 copies, I'd be happy. Anyway, so Mellencamp confessed in a 2005 interview, is what he said, that name was put on me by some manager. I went to New York and everybody said, you sound like a hillbilly. Ironically, his newest titles, Rock, Sad Clowns and Hillbillies. And I said, well, I am. I love that. So that's where he came up with that name. I was totally unaware of it until it showed up on the album jacket. Ooh. When I objected to it, he said, well, either you're going to go for it and we're not going to put the record out. So that's what I had to do. But I thought the name was pretty silly. In 1982, Mellencamp released his breakthrough album, American Fool, and that's where everything changed for him, which includes the famous Hurt So Good, like I said, up-tempo rock tune. Actually spent 4 weeks at number 2 and 16 weeks in the top 10. And then Jack and Diane, the one we're talking about today, which was number 1 hit for 4 weeks. A third single called Hand to Hold On To made it to number 19. And then, of course, he won his Grammy on the 25th Grammy band for the Hurt So Good song. So that was the breakthrough album, which was American Fool. Then in 1983 and 1990, he started to, I noticed the Mellencamp started showing up. So it's now John Cougar Mellencamp. So now that he had some commercial success under his belt, he had, like what they said, enough clout. Now he can kind of push back a little bit. So he forced the record company to add his real surname, and so Mellencamp to his stage moniker, so that John Cougar Mellencamp. The first album recorded under his new name, John Cougar Mellencamp, was 1983's a top 10 album that spawned the top 10 singles Pink Houses and Crumbling Down, as well as the number 15 hit Authority song, which he said is our version of I Fought the Law, which again I shared early was loved by some of his folks, just like Creedence Clearwater's Revival frontman John Fogerty. Then from 1991 to 1997, he performed as John Mellencamp. He dropped the Cougar. That was funny. Anyway, Mellencamp's 1991 album, Whenever We Wanted, was the first with a cover build to his John Mellencamp. Again, like I said, the Cougar was finally dropped for good. So that's how we know him now, as John Mellencamp. So let's talk about his personal life. So he's been married several times, has 5 children, but we'll go in there in a bit. So he was married to a Priscilla Esterline from 1970 until 1981, and then to second wife Victoria Granucci from 1981 until 1989. Put a pin on that. He then married fashion model Elaine Irwin on September 5th, 1992 through December 30th, 2010. It's probably his longest, yeah. Mellencamp announced that he and Irwin had separated after 18 years of marriage, and that's how I've always known him with, because of the supermodel who did ad campaigns for Ralph Lauren, Polo, I think Calvin Klein maybe. And then their divorce became official on August 12th, 2011, with what they say the couple negotiating an amicable settlement on all issues involving property and maintenance rights, custody and support of their children they have together, and all other issues according to the settlement agreement. Mellencamp has 5 children from his 3 marriages: daughter Michelle from his marriage to his first wife Esterline, daughters Teddy, Joe, and Justice from his marriage to Granucci. Again, put a second pin on that. And his sons Hud and Speck from his marriage to Irwin. So the next did you know is his daughter Teddy. She goes by Teddy Mellencamp Arroyev. She actually is or was a cast member of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for 3 seasons. So if you've seen her, she's stunning. No surprise. He makes beautiful children, I'll tell you that. So she was in reality TV for a bit. So after he divorced from Erwin, he started to date, this is a little crazy, Meg Ryan. I did not know that. It was reported that Mellencamp and Ryan broke up in the middle of 2014 after dating for over 3 years. Then, in September 2015, Mellencamp reportedly started dating former supermodel Christy Brinkley. Didn't know that either. And then in August 2016, the couple's publicist confirmed that they had broken up. Then back in July of 2017, it was reported that Mellencamp and Meg Ryan had reunited and started dating again. And then in November 2018, the couple became engaged. Whoa. And then October 30, 2019, it was reported the actors had ended their engagement. And then April 2020, it was reported that Mellencamp had been dating skincare expert Jamie Sherrill since the beginning of the year. People magazine confirmed in January 2021 that Mellencamp and Sherrill have broken up. Maybe Meg Ryan will come back a third time. You never know. So let's talk about the song Jack and Diane and what it means. There's lots of meanings. I'll explain what his intent of the song was and the meaning, but it's funny because I shared with my girlfriends that we did this weekend drive to the beach. We do once every year. As I knew a gal in high school where her name was Diane and her brother is named Jack. Hated the song, as you can imagine. Okay, so according to Mellencamp, when recording the song, Jack and Diane was a terrible record to make, he says. When I played on guitar by myself, it sounds great, but I could never get the band to play along with it. That's why the arrangement's so weird. Stopping and starting, it's not very musical. That's what he says. He also states that the clapping was used only to help keep time and was supposed to be removed in the final mix. Aha, I did not know that. However, he chose to leave the clapping once he realized that the song would not work without it. Because yep, that makes sense. It's kind of bridges it from each sound. The next Did You Know was what the song was actually really about. Obviously, it was about a couple, but the couple actually in the original writing of the song was supposed to be an interracial couple. I had no idea about that. Mind blown. Where Jack was actually African American and not a football star. But the record company actually kind of persuaded John Mellencamp, yeah, let's change it to this more all-American, white, Anglo-Saxon couple. And then 1982, producer and guitarist Mick Ronson worked with Mellencamp on his American Fool album, and in particular on Jack and Diane. In a 2008 interview with Classic Rock magazine, Mellencamp recalled, quote unquote, Mick was very instrumental in helping me arrange that song as I'd thrown it on the junk heap. Ronson came down and played on 3 or 4 tracks and worked on the American Fool record for 4 or 5 weeks. All of a sudden for Jack and Diane, Mick said, Johnny, you should put Beatty rattles on there. I thought, what the F does he mean by put Beatty rattles on the record mean? So he put the percussion on there and he sang the part, let it rock, let it roll, as a choirish type thing, yep, which usually everyone will do, clapping of hands, which had never occurred to me. And that is the part everybody remembers on the song. It was Ronson's idea. Genius, Ronson. The music video, this is where I had so much fun getting to figure out, what it's about. Because when you look at it on YouTube or anything on the internet, black and white pictures, you're assuming like, wait a minute, I think the man part of the baby is actual photos of John Mellencamp, which it is. So I found this fascinating site titled noblemania.com that showcased an interview back on Tuesday, July 8, 2014, titled The Girl in the Video, Jack and Diane, 1982. And it goes on to talk about who the girl is in the video, which was his second wife. Remember I said put a pin in it? Victoria Granucci. He was married to from 81 and 89. And she's the gal in the video, and her photos are of her growing up. That's her as well. She is the mother of his 2 daughters. Like I said, one, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Teddy Mellencamp, Arroyo, and Justice. Here's the actual excerpt from that online article. Some great questions. So a lot of did you know? So I'm just going to start. The interviewer asked, how old were you when you appeared in the Jack and Diane video? She said 23. Next question is, where were you living at the time? She said, Jack and I lived in Bloomington, Indiana. How'd you meet? She said, John and I met after he saw a photo of me at my friend's home, and he convinced her to invite me to dinner. When I arrived at Dan Tana's, let me see the friend's restaurant in Hollywood, I was surprised when I realized I was on a blind date. We hit it off immediately. The next question is, where was the video filmed? The part where John is singing the song we shot at a small restaurant bar in Medora, Indiana. We also filmed Hurt So Good there earlier that same day. So they did 2 video shoots that day. The 8 millimeter footage of John and I was filmed at or around our home in Bloomington. All the photos of John and I are growing up from our personal collections. I knew it. How long was the shoot? John sang the song twice for the camera and then spent another day shooting the 8 millimeter footage. How did you feel making the video? She said, we had a great time. It seemed natural except for the fact that our friend was following us around with a camera. Any funny stories from that shoot? She said, I was able to sneak a few pictures from his early Johnny Cougar days. He, however, did not see that humor at the time. Good for you, Victoria Granucci. Anything go wrong with the shoot? The only difficult part of putting the video together was making the photos and the music come together. So someone came up with the white glove clap. So if you see the video, there's these weird, like hands, white glove claps, which now we know from John, the clap should have been taken out, but they kept it in to keep the flow of the song. What did you think of the video? She said the Jack and Diane video was a fun way for me to watch John and Vicky growing up and being a young couple in love. That's sweet. And then it says, how do you look back on that experience? One of the best quotes. She says, I look back at Jack and Diane with fond memories. I see two American kids doing the best they can. Nicely said, Victoria Granucci. Hopefully you learned a lot. I did. I'm so glad we sung it on the way back from our beach trip, because now I'm doing a story about it today for episode 103. If you have any questions, great suggestions like this, let us know. We're at every site known to man, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram under Misheard Song Lyrics. You can also email us at misheard, that's MISSHEARD songs @gmail.com. Until then, keep singing those songs wrong. Bye.